Okay, and we're live. Welcome everybody to the Overwatch Wednesday TWITCHCAST, brought to you by the Gen X Dads. Finally, a show out there for you regular guys just playing regular games. We talk mostly about Overwatch on Wednesdays, the community in general, and sports and esports, and I don't know, whatever else we feel like. But at the core, this is a show about being lifelong gamers and then finding yourself in the position of also being a dad and how do you balance that life. I am your host, Mike. In-game tag is Shika, and joining me today, as always, is my co-host Jonathan. In-game tag Jonathan. How you doing today?
Better than you,
I
actually.
know.
Sounds like you have a dick in your mouth.
I didn't need to. I need to do my voice warm ups prior to these things. It's episode 2, man. Give me some slack. What you up to?
Nothing, man. I'm tired.
Tired?
Clean the house for company. I hate company.
Three kids will do that to you. Anyway, let's get on. So, for those new to our show, this is called the Overwatch TwitchCast Wednesday. Well, Wednesday and Overwatch are pretty obvious, but what's a TwitchCast?
TwitchCast is a podcast really that we host on Twitch. So we want there to be a kind of live entertainment to our show, and we want to give viewers a chance to be able to ask questions in real time, get some casual streaming in while doing that. So kind of remember, if you want to join our Twitch cast, and if you want to watch after, and you can watch on YouTube, listen to our audio only on our. Are we set up on Apple yet? Are we partnered with them to do a podcast on Apple iTunes?
We're still shopping around for a suitable host, but
platform.
yeah.
Okay. $1.99 an episode.
But wherever you get your podcasts is where we'll be.
But we recommend catching us live here every Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern time. And for those who can't catch us live, you can watch this asynchronously on YouTube or on your podcast platform of choice.
Exactly.
Remember, it's channel Gen X_dads and Twitch, and YouTube is.
We have to get a custom YouTube URL, but it'll probably be Gen X Dads of some kind. And I just also wanted to just piggyback on that with our live viewers get two bonus portions. We have a pregame show where we can just kind of shoot the shit, and then we have a post-game show where we transition from the podcast into actual streaming. We go over from quick play to competitive, and we'll do a few competitive matches for you all, as well as answer questions if we got any over the course of the stream. So, as you can see, John has initiated some quick play. That's the perk of watching us live. What are we doing today in quick play, John?
We are going to test out part of what's called the Clockwork comp, right? Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Vendetta.
So we're going to be playing Torb in May. Some cancer to the max.
But is it more or less cancer than goats? Because if the hype around Clockwork Vendetta is that it's finally a goats killer. Do you think it's a goats killer?
I don't know if it's a goats killer, but I think it definitely is a possibility of maybe breaking out of a stale meta that we've been in for 5 months now, or more.
Yeah, the dream, right, is that it's going to be counter pick, right? Like rock paper scissors, but it's not like the person who throws scissors wins. It's like you throw scissors and then I counter with rock, right? And it goes back and forth. But the comps recently has been kind of static. It's just where and mirror comps. No one likes mirror comps. That's the other complaint that you hear. So as we're waiting, we like to go into our first segment where we call Earning Your Dad Cred. We talk about what you did that made you proud to be a father this week. You got anything to brag about?
I mean, as always, I always brag that none of my kids are dead, so I've done my job
Cheers to that.
where I stand usually. So, other than that, no, I mean my daughter, my middle child, had her ballet recital, which
Oh,
she
nice.
nailed because she's a boss. Looked way better than any of the other stupid dad's kids. And she also started karate, which again, she looked way better than all of them. So
There's got to be like a
proud.
direct line like from ballet to karate, like just sneak in like some roundhouse high kicks into your
Yeah.
ballet routine or
Oh, I mean, I think they're super complementary, right? I mean, like in a lot of that's why obviously a lot of fighters take those kind of
mhm.
finesse arts because it kind of gives you that like float like the butterfly, sting like the bee.
Yeah, it's that
Yeah,
kinesthetic
that was so
movement, right?
fast you guys can even see that.
The
Uh,
frame rates are going nuts right now.
so, yeah, it was definitely. I think she'll have a good time. Other than
Um,
that,
yeah.
my other, my youngest daughter has a birthday this weekend. That's always fun. So I'm trying to keep my wife from
Oh,
going insane.
birthdays, Jesus.
Um,
What birthday is it?
the big number one.
Oh, don't do it. We didn't do a first birthday for our first kid, and we don't plan on doing one for our second.
So it's important to my wife for those who don't know yet, which is pretty much everybody.
right,
My wife is a former Jehovah's Witness, so she never
right,
celebrated
right.
birthdays growing up. So
Ah,
for
get all you
her,
gotta get you gotta get those extra birthdays in.
yeah, this for her is like a chance to like redeem herself for all those years that she never got to have birthdays. So
Yeah, no. Okay, you convinced me. I will hold my tongue from here on out. That's a perfectly valid reason. Um, if you don't mind, may I jump in with the boys?
the duo.
The duo. Um, so my oldest also had a what's it called? His first experience of something. We had his first swim lesson. Very exciting, right? Um, kind of the lesson was kind of weak sauce. To be honest, like, again, Lincoln put all the kids to shame. It was more like, hey, this is water. For those of you who haven't seen it,
Wait,
they
so this is the youngest, right? That you had lessons for, obviously.
no, this is my 3-year-old.
Oh, this is okay. This is like
This is
okay.
yeah,
So
this is his first like swim like formal swim lesson, but the lesson, quote unquote, was really more of like it was just like an introductory, getting used to just how a pool works. So it was a lot like, blow bubbles and splash water on your arms, and meanwhile my kid's over in the corner like jumping off cannonballs and being a
Michael Phelps over
being a
here.
fool. No, I definitely would have died if I wasn't there. I'm not saying he knows how to swim. That's why we're taking the class, right? But what is not the problem is getting his face wet, which was like the problem of most of the kids there. The other first thing that happened was we're starting to feed the youngest 6 months old solid foods.
It's
That's
always fun. It's always
right.
cool to see your kid eat like human. I find.
Well, it's also interesting watching your kid and being afraid every time he puts like a carrot in his mouth. That's
Yeah, there's
it's
that.
it's definitely a new experience. Oh man, look at that freeze torp combo. Um so but then tragedy struck when we gave him some peanut butter, and he maybe got an allergic reaction. And I'll tell you one thing I am not looking forward to. It's dealing with a allergic to peanuts kid,
I
if
mean,
that's the
that is,
case.
and I have to say that I'm super not sensitive towards it because I get pissed off when the school tells me that my kid can't bring a peanut butter fucking toast sandwich to school. So yeah, I don't like that. But they're like super, super like no, like
Hmm.
I've things that I don't even think about. Peanut butter.
Oh yeah,
Like,
it's in like so many weird things and things you wouldn't necessarily think of.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, I am definitely being, what's it called? I understand your frustration, and I was on the opposite end, and I don't want that to become our end. My mom swears to me that there are techniques out there that you could, if you get it young enough, you can like give them something like, I don't know if it's like medicine or just like very measured doses of peanut butter, and you might be able to get them to work through it. So we'll see. We got some appointments set up.
Maybe. I mean, I know when I went to the allergy specialist.
Yeah, that's where we're going.
When I went there, they did a bunch of allergy tests on me, and they were like, "Oh yeah, They found out that I was like, I guess, allergic to like my highest one was dust, just like dust mites or
Dust?
something.
Yeah. Actually, me
Or
too.
something, they're like, oh yeah, you're really allergic to this. It's probably why your sinuses are all messed up all the time. I was like, oh. And they actually, I mean, they said that they could do like a therapy where they give you like shots over the course of like so much time, and it would basically like desensitize me to that allergy. I don't know if it works the same for something like a peanut allergy, but possibly they've made it something up that can like do that.
Yeah, no, that's where we're hoping to get with it.
Oh no! I didn't want to do that. I went up, but then I went back down.
So I think that we both
next level.
We both covered where we're at with our kid stuff for today. You ready to talk some Overwatch? I think that's why the fans are here.
Let's do it, Mike.
So what I got first here on the list, the random list of things we're going to talk about is metas and meta discussion, specific or actually no. Do you want to do your thing first? Do you want to talk about Skyline?
He's my thing now.
That was your submission for the week.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to see it, and it feels like I've seen a couple videos, and I'm thinking he might be partnering with your Overwatch now to do some videos.
Really?
I think I've seen 2 now where they've talked to Skyline. And for those of you who are not who are newer to this game, Skyline in like 2017 or so.
Season like 2, yeah, season 2 and 3.
It was like, yeah, so it was like 17, 18, it was like the beginning of Overwatch, really. Was like a main content creator, almost like a Jane of that time frame, and he was a top 500 player, top 200 player, and created a lot of content on how to get better at Overwatch. And he kind of left for a while. Oh no, that wall went up, dude. How does the wall go up but I die? He left the game to pursue other games and achieving high ranks in other games because that's what he does. So, but now he's back apparently to talk Overwatch.
Yeah. I think there was a thing in too where he was like moving houses or something. And I'm not sure if he had like his regular gaming PC set up. Anywho, Skyline, I guess most noted for being a top 500 and a player very early in the season. Did your Overwatch interview, I guess you could call it, 20 minutes, where he talked about a few points, and I think what we want to get into is like whether or not we agree with all his points. There was some controversies, but just get into, but some of them are just interesting. We wanted to explore them. So one thing he was saying, and Skyline's known for just being like the most low key, almost kind of like he'll lull you to sleep with his level of excitement, but he has a reputation for just like just being straight and 100% honest and all that stuff, and not following the hype. He's kind of famous for
I messed that wall, dude. The wall sucked.
he's kind of famous for like whenever a patch comes out, like he would never just immediately give his opinion on it. He'd be like, "Hey, it's the new patch. We need to wait like at least 2 weeks before I even talk about it." So he said, but what's the secret to getting good? It's actually just like almost like a diet. You eat good and you exercise and you don't notice for like the first few weeks or few months, but eventually like your metabolism kicks in and it works out. So a lot of quote unquote get good guides out there will tell you like here's the meta, here's the positioning. He's kind of a, I don't want to say not optimistic, but more realistic with what you really need to excel. So what do you think about that? Do you is that, I feel like I'm explaining this badly. Do you want to give it a shot as to why Skyline is Skyline?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, he's just
And not Stylosa, for example.
I never really watched Stylosa though, but I don't know. I think he just usually, it just seemed like he approached getting better at Overwatch, like very simply and very analytically, and just kind of like, yeah, man, like it was a kind of a no BS way of getting better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Whoa.
I think that captures it. Like no BS. I think is if you were gonna boil it down into one phrase. I think that's where it's at.
Yeah, because everyone, a lot of other people try to do those like catchy, like gimmickies, like get good quick, climb to GM fast, and he's just like, man, like the only way to get better is to get better.
There are no shortcuts. Yeah,
there's no shortcut really. Like, and I think he's the first one that kind of like said like, man, like the seasons are there. Don't grind the entire season like we were talking about yesterday. You use the season to get better and grind to get that SR, but don't make yourself think that the only way to get better is by gaining SR, because that's not the way to get better. Because you're just going to be upset when you lose. And I think he said, it's a drain to spend. You spend how long playing when if you lose 2 games, 3 games in a row, and then now you have to. You not only lost those 3 games and spend an hour doing that, now you have to spend another hour winning hopefully 3 games, and such a drain.
Yeah, I think the line, the quotable line there is he said, high SR doesn't make you better. Being better gets you a higher SR. So focus on your skills, and don't worry about the SR. It will just come. One other nugget that came out of that interview was the idea that you focus on one thing at a time, right? Like, don't just be like, I'm going to try to be a better Winston player. No, like you work on perfecting your positioning. Positioning is universal to all characters. Just have a better understanding of positioning in general. Play games, and just do nothing but work on your positioning. It doesn't matter. And one thing that stood out for me is he said in order to become a better Ana player, for season 1 he became a Widow main. So what do you think of that concept? Like, oh, I suck at aim. I want to be a better Ana player. The character most dependent on aim is Widow. I'm gonna play Widow to be a better Ana player. Does that strike you as a truism, or do you think that comes across as kind of gimmicky?
Well, I mean, I think it's yes and no. I mean, because some people would say, well, being a good Ana player, there's a lot more than just aiming, right? Positioning, a good cooldown management. So some people may say, well, you're not really practicing those by just practicing Widowmaker. But if you're just saying like, I want to be, if those other things are, maybe easier to get better at, but the aiming piece is more difficult. If you're, want to just simply take out all those other things and just focus on the aim, then I would say, yeah, definitely focusing on something like Widow is, gonna just help you get that aim better.
Well, I think his more point was like first you focus on aim, and then you work on the other things. So first you work on aim, and then you would play like 2 weeks, just focused only on, like, let's say your grenade placement, right? Like for 2 weeks you're just gonna go into games and you're gonna be like, I'm just gonna put the best nades out there, and then after that 2 weeks, work on another skill, like just trying to break it down into the core of its parts instead of trying to manage too much at once and just be a quote unquote better player, because you won't be really focusing on any one skill set successfully.
No. Oh, I didn't hear him.
One example he gave, it was unclear to me whether he was pro this or against this. He was saying he was giving the example of looking at a guide for for Torb turrets. He's like it would be really easy to just look at a video and have a guy tell you just where the best Torb turret spots are. But it wasn't clear to me if he was advocating for that position or saying that that's a bad thing to do. What do you think about like these kind of like guide, like not soft guides, like here's generally how to do positioning, stuff like, hey, here's the best spot to put a turret on this map. Here's spot number 2 to put a turret on this map. I'm going somewhere with this, but I want to hear what you think about it first.
Hold on. Sorry, I wasn't listening at all, too.
Wow.
Sorry.
So.
Oh my God.
So Skyline was attempting to differentiate between different types of knowledge. Some more like soft kind of knowledge, such as like positioning, general alt economy, stuff like that. But then he also kind of distinguished with like harder skill sets that like kind of like things that are right or wrong. The example was like Torb turret placement, where, those kind of videos where you just say, hey, on this map, here's a good spot for turret number 1. Here's a good spot for turret number 2. Okay, let's go to the next map. Okay, good spot for turret number 1. So I just wonder what you thought of the idea. Do you think that like those guides make you a better player, to like the best symmetric turret spots kind of videos, or is it like a crutch?
I mean, I think that they don't make you. I mean, I think it definitely gives you an edge, right? Because if all things are equal, right, all things else are equal, then the person who has a slight edge is going to be the person who has maybe that just slightly better turret placement, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there's going to be with athletes, there's usually with professional athletes everything is equal, right?
Right.
So like they're always looking for like what's the slight edge that they can get, and for Overwatch, it's watching that video that just tells you that next level IQ play.
So
yeah. I think it's definitely.
So what my concern is, is that if you go to a video and they just tell you like, okay, this is a good Torb turret spot, you're not necessarily learning the principles of like what makes it a good turret spot. So like if a new map comes out, you won't be able to look at that map and just kind of instinctively understand like where the good spots are. You're just waiting for the next YouTube video to come out to actually dissect the map in a way you understand.
So the old teach him into fish.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So yeah.
But there's
learn what makes why. So don't learn where to put them, but learn why you're putting them there, and then you can really apply that principle to any map.
Mm-hmm.
So say like, this is good because X, Y, and Z, instead of just saying put them here, and then not even really explaining why.
And I think obviously what as most things are, usually it's kind of a Goldilocks approach that's best. Like, whatever the best, whatever middle ground is best, right? There's probably something. There's probably something to be said, like, well, so you watch like one or two of those videos about where to put the torp turrets, and they might explain like, oh yeah, you put it here because it's high ground, and it's in a weird corner, or it's hidden in bushes. So now if you've never played Tor before, when the new map comes out, it's like, okay, you go and look for high ground and bushes and places where it's around tight corners. So I could see it going a little of a either way. The other thing they mentioned about was Skyline's guide to getting good fast, which kind of this is going into like the main section of the topics that we wanted to talk about, which was high versus low elos, or meta differences at the different tiers. And what Skyline was, his premise, right, is if you want to get good, if you want to play in Masters, then you need to play like a Masters players. That means you pick heroes that are generally good in Masters, and you watch Masters play on Twitch and YouTube, and you try to just copy what they do. This is the by way of example, the opposite would be if you're silver, you watch a guide on like strats that work good in silver. Like there's a lot of like climb to GM guides, right, where they say like you do this from silver to gold, and then you do this from gold to plat, and they kind of adjust your strategies depending on what elo you're with. And Skyline says that's a waste of time. What do you say, John?
I guess I mean, if you are a silver player trying to get better, I think you just I honestly wasn't listening to you at all. Sorry.
Is quick play going to be a problem?
It is definitely. I'm getting into this.
You really need to not get into it.
I'm trying to kill these people.
Yeah, no, don't worry about the people.
I will say one thing,
listen to the soothing sound. Listen to the soothing sound of my voice.
They made Diva Matrix super fucking easy,
though. Basically, what we talked about earlier, with do you think it's better to like kind of adjust your play style for whatever elo you're in? Pick the meta heroes at your elo, or do you just keep your eye on the prize? Hey, Tracer is good at high levels. I'm gonna play Tracer until and grind it all the way to high level. Skyline goes for the don't waste your time doing lower level strats. Just go straight to what works at high level.
I mean, I think what we talked about kind of, obviously if you want to get better, playing with higher level players or, slightly higher than you definitely helps. So, we kind of talked a bit about, is it makes sense to just play that meta pick to get your elo up? And you seem to kind of say, well, if you can get yourself up to a point where now you're playing with somebody who is a little bit more talented at the game and some of those other, skills, then it may pay off, but I think overall, yeah, I mean, I think just playing a pick to get a higher SR is not making you better at the game. Like, oh, hey, I'm jumping on, Moria is maybe a good example, right? I'm going to jump on Moria just because I know that it's silver to gold. She just, she's a dominant person.
Oh, yeah,
she can do so much.
The Brig argument,
right?
I
can climb easily out of this elo by playing Moria. But then, okay, now I'm in, plat into diamond, and now she drops off tremendously because she's just, her kit is mediocre, her utility is kind of blah. and now you're like hard stuck at that point. And have you really gotten better at the game at all? Especially with, I guess, maybe characters like Moria and Brig, where do they really offer much growth in a lot of those skill sets that can transfer to other characters? They're both fairly aim not dependent characters. So, where Skyline was saying, I'm going to play Widow to get better at Ana. I mean, probably getting better at Ana may make you a better Widow too. But getting better at Moria is probably not going to make you a better anything else.
Maybe a Winston.
Maybe an old Sim.
So yeah, basically, again, like if you break it down and think of it logically, it's if you are you're climbing SR, but you're not getting better, right? You're not accruing the skills that will serve you well at a higher level. You're using the character's toolkit almost just as a crutch to win games. And then you're patting yourself on the back saying, like, I'm so good at Overwatch. Look at me. I clicked this character and I won. When it's it's almost like masturbatory, right? Right. You're just like, oh, cool, I'm winning games, but yeah, so what? Like, you need to go to the gym. You need to learn how to shoot, buddy. If you're playing Tracer and you're losing because you're not doing any damage, then you need to play Tracer better. It's not, oh, I suck at Tracer, now I'm going to go play Brig. Then I'll climb to gold, and then I'll switch to Tracer and with my silver aim, and that will. What exactly is your plan there? It doesn't make sense when you just kind of think about it logically and follow through the steps.
Yeah.
I think that's all I got on Skyline. What do you think? Any closing comments?
I think the only argument, maybe the counter argument to that, is just simply that like in other sports, maybe playing with, when you're a little kid and you're playing a sport, sometimes playing with your brother and his friends, just simply because you're playing with better people, is going to give you an experience that wouldn't otherwise if you just stuck with the kids your own age. So I mean, there is like we were saying, is sometimes just using that character as a crutch to get into like gold, say, it's like a different mentality of players. So now you're with the big boys.
Okay.
And now, because you may have a mentality of winning, but just not been able to get out of that. And now you have people that are a little more serious about the game.
Are you making an Elo hell argument here? Like you just, because I think that's the justification people use, right? Like, oh, I just need to get out of these low ranks with good teammates and people who care about comps, and then everything will be better.
Yeah.
But since we're with Jane and we don't think Elo hell exists, it's no. If you're bad, you're probably just bad. I think that's a fair. Well, I think you guys will hear us talk about Skyline more in the future. So this definitely isn't the end of these kind of topics. Do you want to talk about what have you been playing? You say you're gonna play May. You abandoned me. Yeah.
Don't hate.
You
we had no tanks.
You don't listen to me in the stream. Anyway, Torb, what have you felt about having Torb as a teammate over here?
I'm loving it. like they say, I'm in Arnold's. I'm loving it. I don't know. I mean, I think it was a cool idea when I said it, but then after I'm like, wow. I mean, the comp isn't just because of those two. There's a lot more that goes into it.
Oh yeah, but that's why it's quick play. We don't care about winning. We're practicing, the characters and some of the concepts, and more just how it feels, right?
I love Hammond, actually. I think he's super fun.
Indeed. You ready to go to the next segment? Esports, real sports.
Yeah.
We're working on we're working. No, it just means, are you done with talking about like, meta and
Yeah,
strats and stuff like that, and
I think we
going
covered
on
it
to
a lot.
more?
I think talking about the meta is getting as stale as the meta.
Oh, we got jokes over here, guys. Be careful. So we're not, and we're not.
No, they're gonna kill me.
We're not stuck on the
They
name.
don't like me.
But one of the things we often like to talk about is the esports community. Obviously, we'll focus a bit on Overwatch, but really what we're interested in is like, what is it going to take for esports to become real sports? And so we do a lot of comparisons between esports, and not that esports isn't a real sport. That's the point. But it's commonly not viewed or talked about in terms of actual athletic, physical sporting events, and we kind of want to change that. So this week's topic, John, is physical conditioning and physical training. Does it help you become a better esports player? I'll just leave it as open-ended as possible, and we will see where the conversation takes us.
So does physical
training yeah,
make you a better esports player?
correct. That is the discussion.
Yeah.
Because
I think that like.
Mhm.
I mean, I think there's a connection between mind and body.
That's very zen of you.
Esports is very mind dependent, right? And I think that training your body, really kind of goes hand in hand with training your mind.
Okay, so you're saying it's like just more of a general discipline issue, or that like healthy mind equals healthy body, and even if esports is nothing but mind games, a healthy mind is needed. So, and physical training helps your mind. That's kind of your argument.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm gonna come at it at a slightly different angle. What I was thinking was like, I think the physical aspects of video game playing aren't addressed wide enough. I think like kind of golf suffers from this problem too, right? Like people say like golf is an athletic event, but then someone like Tiger Woods comes along, who's oftentimes like half as young as the who was dominating the field at that time, and showed that like, well, dude, if you're jacked compared to the rest of your competition and you're driving balls like 300 plus yards routinely, whereas it used to be like kind of impressive, you're
oh my god, this maze a horror.
And not only that, but like endurance usually comes up as an issue, right? Because if you have to walk the golf course, so if it's a long day, it's a hot day, and your opponents are fatigued and you are not, because just you're in better shape, you're going to be a better golfer. And I think you can draw a lot of comparisons to that in esports, especially the endurance one. We've already seen a few articles come out that really just focus on the cardio aspect of it, like the fact that they play games for like 4 hours straight at a pretty elevated heart rate. Am I tracking so far?
Yeah, dude.
But so I think
yeah, no, definitely.
I think that's more accepted, but I'm wondering, and this is where I'm going to go out on a conspiracy limb. Do you think like actually being athletic, like I want to give a good example, like an Olympian, if you taught an Olympian how to play video games, would somehow like his fast twitch muscle fibers, or like ability to bench press 200 pounds, like would these things be an advantage towards like moving your mouse in a precision way or something? I'm trying to think. I'm speculating on like any sort of advantage training could have.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Right, like if you theoretically you had two players of equal skill, but one of them has good muscle tone and good muscle density, would he somehow be more routinely accurate than your stereotypical basement Cheeto dweller? Or is it only the only thing that matters is your muscles below the elbow?
I don't know. It's a good question. Like I mean, like if you seriously, like, you take an Olympic athlete and say, "Hey, you're already an Olympic athlete. You're a freak of nature physically. And we want you to compete in the Overwatch League in a year. We're giving ourselves a year, and we think because of that, you are at an advantage, and you are going to be able to learn this video game, use your skills already proven that you're like you're a sprinter. Your twitch muscles are so precise and fast." And you think that I mean, I think that that's much more likely than taking Siegel and saying we're going to give you a year and you're going to be a top class sprinter.
Well, or if you said like, okay, hey Siegel, you're a large man. We're going to assign you a personal trainer, and you're going to get in shape. Like, would that help his gameplay? But I think my argument is more like let's take an example of a fencer. Right? Someone who's trained his entire life to very precisely put a metal stick in someone's chest, right? I'm just trying to think of like what's closest to a mouse action as possible. So you have a guy who like he's trained his eyes and his brain for precision muscle movements. And now what you're going to do is like I said, just tell him to play games for like a year straight, and do you think there's like some kind of inherent physical advantage to having that kind of background? I'm really stacking the argument in my favor here because I'm obviously like pushing a certain point. I'm just trying to see if you're calling my bullshit on it.
I think it's bullshit.
So you think like Skyline said, you get better at things by doing the thing. So if you want to get better at esports, go play more esports. Don't get a gym membership and think that it's going to make you some kind of a GM player.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to make you a GM player. Oh, the May blocked that.
I do like your explanation better too. Just overall, like physical fitness. If you're overall healthier, how could it hurt? If you're a good player, but you're freaking diarrhea and fatigue.
I think fatigue is a big thing. Yeah, I mean, I think the schedules that they put themselves through. I think they're it's not easy. And I think being physically, active, and I think, having that endurance helps. And, this is bad, dude.
Don't worry about it.
Actually, that saved my life.
So, the point is don't neglect the weights, guys. It's good for you.
Hit the weights, boys.
I was going to talk about stuff, some worries, some speculation. There were some people who left Overwatch, in the upper Overwatch League management. I don't know if we have enough time though. We could go back and talk about more meta stuff, or just call it. We're about 50 minutes.
50 minutes.
Yeah. What do you think? We'll do it. It's up to you.
I think we say that's a good night. It's a good night.
Okay. So, we're gonna speaking of exhaustion, taking care of kids will do that to you.
Holy crap!
Well, we gotta watch the play of the game. We'll narrate it. So this is John. He's fumbling around. He's getting stunned. He's putting mines down. The mines kill everyone. Good job. There's some Torb level play of the game there. Oh yeah, I know what I can do to fill. One since today's theme is playing Torb. The idea that like metas shift, and that Torb. My overall impression of playing Torb for an hour is he does feel good, but I hesitate to play him in matches because you're going to get flamed on, and you might cause people to throw even if you are being serious, just because of the legacy that he used to be a troll pick, but people don't realize no, he's a completely redesigned character now. What do you think about people's perception of the meta changing the meta? Do you just push through it and you say, no, F you, I'm going to play Torb? Or do you try to be a good teammate and maybe pick an even suboptimal pick for you, knowing that it might make your teammates play better? Where would you come down on that?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard because I think on one hand you have to enjoy playing the game and you have to do what's kind of fun for you sometimes. And I heard a guy say that the other day, about well, I want to have fun, so I'm gonna play this character because it's what I enjoy. But it is at the end of the day a team game, and it's a game.
But if you call if your pick causes your team to start throwing, that's not fun.
No, that's not fun. So I guess I would side with I mean, hopefully you can play more than just Torb, and that you're like, all right, cool, yeah, man, I can play soldier in this situation. It's a little bit more optimal. We need a little bit of extra healing. That by that field helps, and I'll pick or oh man, we need the direct hit scan, so I'll pick McCree or Ash.
Okay.
Play Torb when you can, but never be so stuck in that pick that you can't switch.
So you're saying it's a case by case basis.
Yeah,
basically.
I think at the end of the day, it's just if everyone's just be a decent human being, man. It's the people who are just dicks that don't switch or don't even think about it or acknowledge that oh man, yeah, hey, I get that you're asking me to switch, but I feel I feel I shouldn't because of blah blah, and you're oh well, I guess, yeah, dude, I ain't your dad, I'm not telling you what to do over here, you're an adult. If you feel you have reasons for doing it, then whatever, do you, but it's the people that just leave voice chat and say fuck you guys, I'm just gonna block Torb and not do anything that that really pisses me off.
So yeah, be empathetic, put yourself in the other guy's shoe, think hey, you're here to have fun, I'm here to have fun, let's have some fun, let's meet halfway. If everybody did that, it would be a better game to play for everybody, and that's what we're about here on Gen X Dads, just making a better gaming community. It doesn't have to just be Overwatch, the Overwatch community. It's just it's about becoming better gamers, and we are hoping that we raise better gamer kids that will grow up to be better gamer, functioning members of gamer society. So,
and yeah, I want to throw a question back at you that
yeah
along with that. So, what's your thought about the when you say the swapping, we're talking about the swapping, not swapping, be a good human. What about the I already locked, I lock DPS first. Those groups you get into where 3 people all pick DPS, and then you're sitting there waiting, and then you see that 4th guy lock Hanzo, and you're like, fuck my life, dude, why did you see 3 DPS already selected and you decided to go DPS as well? What do you feel about that? Some people will say, nah man, I selected it first, therefore you have to play something different.
Yeah, I get you. You're kind of putting me on the spot here, because you can go either way. Like I said, it's case by case, right? Because on the one hand, like we said, what if you're Skyline and you're practicing your projectile heroes and you're gonna play Hanzo no matter what? It's happening, right? What basically the variable you just kind of threw into the mix to add some moral ambivalence, ambiguity is the timing factor, right? Like, well, you were planning when you booted up the game, right? You knew that you were going to select Hanzo as fast as you could. Does the fact that other people chose DPSs before you somehow make you a worse person for selecting Hanzo? I'm sympathetic to the view that, you know, you should be able to pick whoever you want. But I'm also sympathetic to the view that, yeah, that part of your responsibility, question mark, of being a good teammate is to pick what your team needs. And if it looks like you're already with 3 people who are set on something, I mean, and this is where like voice chat comes in, you know, and you can, and I would say, you know, less that, don't flame on other people, just say like, you know, hey guys, I'm really useless at anything but Hanzo, you know, is there anybody else willing to switch? And I think that goes a long way towards, like, you know, extending an olive branch and come, even if he doesn't switch off Hanzo, I'm now suddenly like kind of less mad at him because he made his intentions clear.
Yeah.
There's good, like you said, you know, the way to not do it is get out of the chat and just select what you're going to do. And, you know, because you've entered the stage, right? The stage, you've set the stage. There's 3 DPS already chosen. You need to know what you're walking into. You need to know, you need to have an expectation for what your teammates expect, and and an understanding that you just violated what they expected. And so I think like an apology is order, but you don't owe them anything to switch if you weren't planning on switching to begin with.
Yeah.
Like you said, if more players, you know, just would be willing to flex pick, or would be willing to flex pick, that's obviously the best case solution for everybody in all cases. But for those who have, you know, decided that they are going to play something, then at a certain point the negotiation is over. The comp is what it is, and you just need to try to make that comp work no matter how bad it is, right? You can win with 4 DPS comps. You just have to play in a style that maybe you weren't anticipating to, if you're used to playing in 2-2-2s all the time. Did I sway you one way or the other?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, guys, we did it. Episode 2. Woo! We hope that you enjoyed what we have brought before you. May our humble offering have been acceptable. Like we said, if you're listening to us somewhere out there in the future, we do this live 8:30 on Wednesdays, please, on Twitch. Gen X Dads, please come and participate in the fun, and or make fun of us. We don't care. We just want to hang out. John, do you have any? Have you thought any more about our catchphrase? How are we gonna wrap this up?
Stay classy.
Like say guys.
Stay sassy.
That's it.
How about, I thought we were doing the remember, your children of today are the gamers of tomorrow.
What he said. Anyway, also a reminder, when the podcast is over, we're going to transition over into some comp games. So we'll see you on the ladder. Stay classy, stay positive, and we'll catch you next week. Later, guys.